Hello everyone, this is the Misadventures of Team AJ. Today we were invited out by the New Orleans Jazz Museum. The reason we were invited out is because Disney is having a presentation focused on the new attraction Tiana's Bayou Adventure at Disney World and Disneyland. That attraction is focused around the wonderful city of New Orleans, our hometown. We are so proud and thankful for the opportunity to actually be able to present this to you guys. So we would like to thank the New Orleans Jazz Museum and its management for having us out here. This was an honor and a privilege, and I hope we make you proud. And for everyone watching, we hope you have a great time as we present this once-in-a-lifetime experience. Thank you for watching. We love you all.
Especially excited to be working with Disney. Carmen and Charita have been a dream to work with, and we're also excited for the city of New Orleans to have Disney doing so many projects here. And we did an exhibit with Disney, I guess it was about 2 years ago now. Yeah, on the movie Soul, an exhibit based on the movie. John Baptiste, of course, from New Orleans, did the score for that, and he's since, I think, gotten 5 Grammys, and is one of the biggest stars in the world now. We're working on more exhibits, more projects, and this drum set that you see up here is happens to be my drum set. I keep it in the office. I said I always want to be like Johnny Carson and have a drum set in my office, I had a number of the elements of this set, the Chinese tom-tom, which, by the way, later evolved into the tom-tom we know today, and the cowbell and woodblock and the cymbals. But I was looking for period drums from the 20s, 30s, and found this bass drum and snare drum online. Been fortunate, working here at the museum to have some great drummers. We have a wonderful exhibit we plan to show you later entitled Drumsville, Evolution of the New Orleans Beat. And we've recently also come up with a book about the subject. But anyway, this ties all of these pieces together. New Orleans is known for drumming. It's such an important piece that's really influenced the soundtrack of the 21st century. And anyway, we're really excited, and this Arvin radio as well that we brought up here, period from the 1930s. But anyway, we're happy to have you here, and here's Carmen and Charita. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Greg. I just want to go back a little bit. Greg shared that we started working with him on the movie Soul, and just to kind of let you all know that, during our deep dives, it's kind of what we do. I reached out to Greg a couple of years ago, and I told him that we wanted to create a traveling experience based on the movie Soul. And I wanted to have as much knowledge as possible for us to create a traveling exhibit based on the movie Soul, but that would talk about the fact that jazz is an American art form, and it started here. And Greg was our advisor and helped us on that journey, and that Soul exhibit is still traveling. It kicked off here in New Orleans, went to Kansas City, it's in New York, and in the fall it heads to the New York Hall of Science because they're going to talk about the science of jazz. So again, everything we do kind of starts with knowledge so that we get the story right and give people a sense of how we can bring these stories to life. You see them on the screen, but we dimensionalize them and give people access to these protagonists, these really great characters. So I just want to say that Greg has been amazing partner to us. And when Charita and I started this journey on Charita's Bayou Adventure, the horse, one of the first person we reached out to was Greg. We're starting this journey, and to really help us understand the complexity and the diversity of music here in Louisiana, in particular New Orleans. And he gave us great guidance along with some other jazz historians. So again, it's kind of how we roll, and it excites me And again, I'm going off on a little tangent here, but I wanted Greg to go a little bit deeper on how he brought this together. Because, you know, Charita and I are walking through his office, and he has his drum set in his office. And again, you know, in our story, we have Ralphie, who is Prince Naveen's little brother, and he's learning to play drums. And it's like, how could that happen? That this is the drum set that, you know, millions of people will see for decades to come. And how we came about it, I mean, I wish you could come up here and just share. Like, it's just amazing how things come together, and you never know how it's going to end up. And for it to now be part of our story, just amazing.
Thank you, Carmen. Yeah, and you know, it's funny too that because we have, well, you know, the Drumsville exhibit, but also as a jazz museum, we have musicians from literally, you know, all the New Orleans musicians, but musicians from all over the world coming through, and we've had so many people sign the snare drum, and so there's some great names on there. Herlin Riley, who I think is one of the best here in New Orleans, and Joe Lasty and Shannon Powell, Stanton Moore, etc. So there's a really rich history, and it's the rhythms, it's the drums that really have influenced dramatically the soundtrack of the 21st century.
And it's part of our story.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll elaborate on how it integrates with our story. But the Jazz Museum has, as everybody has said, has been a wonderful, wonderful resource for us. And we did bring on several occasions different groups of people to come here and do research. And so in addition to the wonderful exhibits that you'll have an opportunity to experience in a few moments, there's an amazing Louisiana archives that a lot of people don't know, but it's extremely extensive. And it goes back to the origins of the city practically, right? And so they opened up those archives for us, and we spent quite a few hours, I think, going through just so many things. So once again, just really grateful for the partnership and the openness to be able to do that. But one of the things that we wanted to do as we were talking to Greg and looking at various exhibits here at the museum was we wanted to make sure that we were time period accurate. As we were learning about jazz and we were learning about all the different musical styles that have a home here, we wanted to make sure that we weren't getting ahead of ourselves, right? We didn't want to bring something in from the 50s when our story is in, you know, the mid to late 20s. So this drum set is an example of that. Like Carmen said, we walk into Greg's office. It's a children's drum set. Our attraction is a musical. I think you guys all know that, right? It's a musical, and we do have a focus on music as well as community and family and some of the other things that we have talked about over the last couple of days. And so in addition to that, we, you know, want to make sure that music is accessible to everybody, and we really want to encourage everybody to just kind of dig into their own sense of rhythm. Carmen has often said she wished that we could have like a dance routine with our attraction, but safety is not going to allow that. Right. But it's this idea of just really encouraging people young and children at heart, to just really explore their sense of rhythm and their sense of music and their musicianship and all of that. So as we were putting together our story, we were able to get a couple of books from Disney Publishing. And that's when we realized that Ralphie, Naveen's little brother, plays the drum. Now, I think many of you will probably remember Ralphie from the film. At the end, I think he's the one dancing with Charlotte. You know, she wanted to know if he had an older brother. But so we decided, because we wanted to represent, we want children who experience our attraction to see themselves and know that they can, you know, play instruments and pursue their dreams as it involves with music. We wanted to incorporate Ralphie into our attraction. So this drum served as a prototype for us in doing our design. And I think I can go ahead and reveal our next conceptual piece that we want to share with all of you is a picture of Ralphie playing the drums. So there it is there, one of our Imagineers put this together for us with all the reference that we had. And once again, Ralphie will appear in the attraction. I'm not going to tell you where, but he will appear in the attraction. And once again, it's a beautiful opportunity for young kids to see themselves playing an instrument. I think I'll point out too, the radio back here. We wanted to make sure, once again, from a time period perspective, that we were being accurate. And we do have a radio show as a part of the attraction. And so we just wanted to make sure, and illustrating it from a prop and set design perspective, that we were period accurate as well. So we really kind of felt like we could kind of hit a gold mine, right? Because a lot of the questions that we had and things that we needed to prove out, we were able to do it by interacting with Greg and his staff, his team, and taking advantage of the exhibits and the archives.
And I just want to point out a magic moment that we had. When we were upstairs in their archives, which is vast, we're all sitting at tables going through newspapers from that period of time. And again, as Charita shared with you all, how our character, Tiana, overtakes a salt mine. And lo and behold, one of our designers picks up a newspaper. And in the newspaper is not only the salt mine, but also the water tower. And it's like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, it was really cool. We had
amazing.
wanted to have a water tower.
Yeah.
And so once again, as it has happened many times, we have designed something because we feel like it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have been able to come here and validate that we are accurate. So it was a pretty magical moment.
It was, so it's sort of like, it's like what you all are experiencing here in New Orleans. It's a magical place. You come in one way, you come out another, inspired. Your curiosity is heightened about the world, and you feel a sense of acceptance, and
and always something new to discover as well. So we're very grateful, Greg, to you and your staff.
We're very grateful. Thank you.
These are the archives of the Jazz Museum.
Of course, we have pretty extensive collections of instruments, sheet music, recordings, even architectural fragments, ephemera of all sorts, directly related to musicians, and our exhibits, which we'll go see. But I'm taking you in here because this is our archive, and it's a general archive about the history of New Orleans. So the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, this is the heritage component. And to understand the music, you need to understand the culture. And this is what allows for understanding the history of the culture. I like showing people this map because it really kind of tells a lot about the history of New Orleans and when Katrina happened, you can see the reasons. And anyway, so New Orleans is where it is because this bend in the river is very close to Bayou St. John, which gets you right into Lake Pontchartrain. It was very hard for boats to go up the river. It took a long time because they had to tack back and forth. So having that passage directly from the lake, which is into the Gulf, through this bayou, made it the ideal location. But of course, New Orleans is very, very swampy, and over the years, the rivers, when it would overflow, it would deposit sediment along the bank of the river. So that was the high ground. And so the early city was built along where we are now in the French Quarter. That's how it was in his home. It was kind of a showpiece of his home. And of course, his home was full of dirt and Katrina. It was heavily damaged. And then, so we were working with the family at the time on an exhibit. So we had to conserve and they let us display and see them.
Wow.
At this point, we were guided around the New Orleans Jazz Museum by the director of the museum. He led us to quite a few exhibits, including this one, which is referred to as Drumsville. And as you see, it's multiple different types of drums throughout the musical history of New Orleans. So keep on watching, and we hope we give you even more reason to want to come and see this museum in New Orleans for yourself, because this place is wonderful and magical, and that is why Disney chose it. Once again, we would like to thank the New Orleans Jazz Museum for having us. We would also like to thank Disney for putting on this event in New Orleans at the Jazz Museum. So with that said, laissez les bon temps rouler. Let the good times roll. Thank you again for watching.